Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is, in my opinion, some of the best work that Ubisoft have done in years, because what's been designed here is exceptional. If you're a fan of Hollow Knight waiting for the sequel, I'm actually surprised to say that I think Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown will be able to fill the void while you wait. My name's Mark Walker, welcome back to SwitchUp. Why am I so positive about it? Well, let's find out. Keeping spoilers to a bare minimum, you play as Sargon, one of the Immortals. They're sent on a rescue mission by the Queen, and the narrative is filled with betrayal, with lots of twists and turns, but also some lovely interactions between the characters. You'll meet a few NPCs along the way who will offer side quests and other exposition, and then there are a ton of discoverable items, small stone tablets on the walls, with a large quantity of that being entirely optional and up to the player to seek out. As I'm sure you're aware by now, this is a large, sprawling Metroidvania, set over one of the largest maps I've ever played in. There are 13 different biomes, and thank goodness you unlock fast travel quite early on. Aside from his twin sword, Sargon can also counterattack, and if he does this at the right time, that being when the yellow is indicated from the enemy, he'll perform a highly damaging special move, which is accompanied by an awesome animation. Aside from those skills, you can dodge to avoid the red attacks, which are unblockable. To go along with his swords, he's also got a bow and a chakram, which can be directed in any direction and fired. And all of these skills are used in the puzzle sections as well. There are quite a few things which evoke similarities to some of my favourites in the genre. What Prince of Persia does so well is its fluidity of movement, but also the cleverness of its puzzle designs, and that's not really something I expected. Sure, you'd expect the usual array of different platform puzzles, getting you to semi-think about the route, but generally being able to blast through them. But here, some of those puzzles really do require multiple repeated attempts and planning out how you're going to perform those actions. But what excels it for me is that it has that quality whereby you think when you've completed a puzzle, there's no way anyone else would have solved that. I don't know if you know what I mean there. It's that feeling that, my goodness, that was so challenging. That required me to really think outside the box. Surely most people aren't going to get that. And I know that sounds incredibly arrogant, but it's more a feeling than a fact. And what it does is it makes you feel like you've really achieved something. Navigating the world is also made more easy with a few quite ingenious ideas. Things like the little glowing trails that lead to the whack-whack trees, which is where you rest to restore your health. You can respawn from here, and you can also change your amulets. You can take memory snapshots. These attach an image to the map so that you can go back to areas that you know once you've got the skill you'll be able to access. Then you can either play the whole game in guided mode, which will give you a waypoint so you know where to go next, or you can have it in exploratory. That'll be much more familiar to hardcore Metroidvania fans, and it is the route that I definitely didn't take because I would have been playing forever. Now, the game says that it's around 20 to 25 hours. If you're a completionist, which I definitely am in the right way, then you will get a lot out of this one. Aside from the main quest line, you've got a few different side quests. Some of them are your standard collectathons, but even those will require puzzle solving to reach all of those said items. Boss fights are very well designed, and the main reason for that is that they rely, or at least benefit from the different powers. For example, one-time power will allow you to leave a crystallized version of yourself and then teleport back to that, and thus avoid some potentially impossible to avoid damage. Another one allows for a second jump in the air, and then there'll be secret uses of those skills to make some boss fights easier. I won't spoil those. And all the while you've got your different amulets, so you can try and mix and match those with a finite number of slots to make certain fights easier, like getting a second life once you take that final killing hit. Now, regardless of how much you tweak the difficulty, there will be certain puzzle platform sections that might frustrate some players. They'll rely on very precise and accurate movement and pinpoint timing. The further you get into the game, the more complex these get, as you'd imagine. And while I found it thoroughly enjoyable and rewarding, I can see some people getting mildly frustrated by the more challenging ones. The world created here is filled with masses of enemies. Each of the different biomes has their own unique ones, and in turn unique ways of handling them. They all share certain traits. They'll all have an unblockable attack and all allow an opening for your unique counter move. There are a couple that could be straight out of a Souls game, and there are those pain in the arse ones like the flying creatures that you can never quite hit. With combat, most of it can actually be avoided. Because there's no experience points, it's very much your own skill that means you deal with them. It does, however, gain you the game's currency, which you'll be able to use to upgrade your weapons, so I guess in that regard, there's a risk and reward there, but it's not essential. You'll get more than enough from treasure chests and just playing the game normally without feeling like you have to fight everything. Now you can upgrade your weapon through the blacksmith, and also spend money in the shop, increasing your health. Oh, and there are little map sections that you can purchase as well. As far as gameplay goes, I really don't have many criticisms, and I'll be quite interested to see what other people don't like. If you're a hardcore Metroidvania fan, then you are really going to enjoy this one. How you engage with that narrative will affect your overall enjoyment, and some of the characters are a little less likable. It's a great return for the Prince of Persia series. I'm just slightly worried that Ubisoft will start pumping out one a year. I give gameplay 18 out of 20. The controls are outstanding, they score 19 out of 20. Visually, this one runs on the Unity engine, and clearly the team's work with their previous titles shows here. It's 60 frames per second, it's fluid, it's silky smooth, it has real-time shadows, some real-time lighting, and the animations, character animations, movement, parallax scrolling in the background, the level of detail, like being able to see some of these creatures moving around in the distance, it really is impressive, and that's across every platform. To have it running exactly the same on the Nintendo Switch is a real pleasure at this stage in the game, and it shows the amount of effort that's gone into the presentation. Artistically, I'm not quite as sold. Don't get me wrong, the environments are fantastic, the characters do look good, but it kind of reminds me of the shift between old school hand-drawn animation and those new Nickelodeon cartoons, as I call them. There's almost something lost in how crisp and clean everything is. That's merely a personal preference though, and it still does look great. The soundtrack is brilliant. Now, I mentioned in our sponsored video the outstanding Gareth Coker, who's known probably best for his work on the Ori series, has created a soundtrack that is distinctly his own style, but also definitely fits and suits this world.
Hours for you, days for me.
The voice work is reasonable across the board. It's okay. Some of it I really like, and some of it feels a tiny bit hammy. And there's also one bug at the moment where one of the NPCs basically has a computerized AI voice. I think what happened was they forgot to put that line in. I don't know what happened really, but you'll suddenly get like Siri pop up on one of the characters. Now that is being patched out, so day one you might never hear that, but still the audio is strong across the board. Now visuals and performance, they score 19 out of 20. Sound and audio, that scores 18 out of 20. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown will set you back $44.99 or regional equivalent, and there is a digital deluxe version which is about a $5 or more, but will unlock the game a little early and give you a few bits of stuff that I really don't care about. I think it's absolutely worth the money. It's clear that Ubisoft have put a lot of time, love, care and attention, and also skill into making this. It really seems to cater for almost every type of player. There are accessibility options coming out of its ears, change the difficulty, change the navigation style, tweak all the colorblind settings, the ease of which you parry different enemies. It's all in there, and it's nice to see. It's also a decent length. You could rush it in 25 hours, but I think for most of you, if you're a genre fan, you could push this to 30 to 40 hours to do absolutely everything. Value deserves 19 out of 20. Honestly, I did not think this game would be that good, and that I can sit here now and record a review where it scores a SwitchUp score of 93%, color me surprised. A big thanks to Ubisoft for the review code. Hopefully this is of some use to all of you, but yeah, I think you'll also be quite surprised when you sit down to play this. There is a demo available now, so you can do exactly that, and I'm really happy to see the Prince is back in town. Thanks to our Patreons and members. If I've missed anything, or you've got any questions, just ask down in the comments and I'll be sure to reply. And as always, for all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!